The Tuesday, September 20th Plan Commission for the Village of Plainfield is called to order. We have a special group with us this evening. It's Den 7, PAC 82, Boy Scout Troop. They're sponsored out of Plainfield United Methodist Church, and they are going to present the colors and also lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Den 7, please go ahead.
Color guard attention. Audience, please rise. Color guard advance. Color guard advance.
They didn't go all the way out to the parking lot.
Yeah, there it is. Try not to wreck anything. All right. Oh, careful. Hello. Check. Okay. No, wait, stop there. Okay, now. Hold.
Color guard halt. Color guard present the color.
Turn towards the audience with the flag on the right. Flag on the right. Cross. Is that where you cross across?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard post the flag of the United States of America.
All right, Zach.
Color guard salute. 2. Color guard dismissed. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Den 7. Can we please get a roll call?
Commissioner Segerbrook.
Here.
Commissioner Renzi.
Here.
Mr. Menace.
Here.
Mr. Heinen.
Here.
Commissioner Womack.
Here.
Commissioner Green. Chairman Kiefer.
Present.
Park District. School District. Fire District. Library District.
Thank you. You have in your packets the minutes from the September 6, 2016 Plan Commission meeting. If you've had a chance to look at them, are there any corrections or adjustments? Okay. Hearing none, we will accept the minutes as presented. At this time, we have some time set aside for public comments for anything that would not be on our agenda this evening. So anything not on this agenda that anyone would like to speak about, please approach the microphone. Okay, not seeing any. We will move forward. Do we have a development report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Village Board did meet last night and took action on a handful of cases that have been before the Plan Commission. The board did move forward with a approval of an ordinance relative to the rezoning request for the Showbar property on Van Dyke Road north of 143rd Street, and as well the subdivision plat that was required to rezone one portion of that property. So the final plat was approved and the ordinance approving the rezoning went forward. In addition, the board did direct the village attorney to move forward to prepare an ordinance relative to the sign variance request for St. Mary Immaculate Parish. The board also reapproved two final plats that had been before the Plan Commission sometime back. One was related to a residential project, Chatham Square, a portion of Chatham Square north of 127th Street, west of Heggs Road. The developer is interested in restarting their marketing and sales efforts there, so that's good news for the village. And the board also reapproved a subdivision plat for the Boulevard project. That's just pending signature from IDOT, so the recordation has been delayed in that case. And that concludes the development report.
Okay, thank you. We have no old business, so we'll move directly into new business. We have two cases before us this evening. The first case is case number 1733-09016.SU/SPR. And the applicant is Washu Car Wash. The request is for a special use as a public hearing for that, and also site plan review. Do we have a planner's report regarding this case?
Yes, I do, Chairman. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners. Tonight before you is a request from Washu Car Wash for a special permit for a drive-through for a permitted use for a car wash in the B3 zoning district, as well as site plan recommendation of approval. They're proposing to construct a 4,526 square foot car wash to be located on Lot 2 of the Prairie Creek subdivision. Their location would be southerly adjacent to the Bartels Auto Clinic and just south of the Holmeyer development. They will be subdividing out 1 acre from the existing 5.5 acres currently existing out on Illinois 59. This site does have access through the access drive to the Meyer development where a traffic signal is located. A final plat will be required to subdivide this 1 acre out of the property, but that will be prepared at a later date. The adjacent land uses and zoning are north is Bartels Auto Clinic, east is Prairie Creek development, which is vacant land, currently zone B3. South the same, and west is Illinois Route 59 right-of-way. As I said, the drive-through is a request accessory to the permitted use of car wash and is required for a special use in the B3 zoning district. As for a special use, there's 2 findings of fact that need to be made. One is that the special use would not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate area. And because through this finding, staff finds that this will have no detrimental impacts to the neighboring property, as all the vehicular on circulation will be contained on site. And the second finding of fact is the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the adjacent properties for use permitted in the subject zoning district. Staff again submits that the drive-through operations will be compatible with additional commercial development and sees no negative impacts to the adjacent properties from this development. The site plan being proposed, as you can see, is there's two ingress egresses that are being proposed. One is located in the north, which will be a full ingress egress, and the southerly one will be an egress only and exit only to the access drive. Staff sees no real issues with the circulation on site. Parking is sufficiently provided, and there's appropriate stacking provided as well. As you can see from just the one automatic washing bay, there's over 30 stacking spaces from the time you enter the bay with the 3 lanes. There's also 7 parking stalls proposed on the east side of the site, and along the north side of the building there will be a stall dedicated to each of the vacuums. Engineering for the site will be done at a later date. This approval, the recommendation for approval tonight, will be conditioned on that, on engineering approval. There is detention already established and on Prairie Creek development. As far as zoning ordinance compliance, all the minimum lot areas and lot widths and the bulk regulations have been met, and the setbacks have been met. The elevations proposed, they're currently implementing a gray cultured stone on the front tower at a knee wall, a tip around 3 foot, and as well as the back tower. And the remainder of the building, this gray stone will be carried up 7 feet. The rest of the elevation is 100 is fiber board, which is the blue, teal, and gray colors that you see on the elevations. We'll say that the applicants came in at first with a 100% fiberboard on their elevations and have been working with staff to try to elevate the proposal and bring some masonry materials into the elevation. Per the zoning ordinance, building trim and accent areas may feature brighter colors, including primary colors, but exposed neon tubing shall be prohibited from building trim or accent areas. That's the one part of the code that I could find that suggested towards these brighter color uses. Again, the petitioner is trying to utilize this blue area as they're considering part of their corporate brand and trying to build off of that on other planned sites. The landscaping plan, there's 5 trees that are going to be planted along Illinois Route 59, as well as 10 trees on the interior of the lot. And 221 small shrubs and plantings have also been provided throughout the site. Landscaping is typically required for parking lot screening, and the proposed north side does not illustrate any landscaping with existing landscaping from the Bartels development that's adjacent that's also shown on the plan. Petitioner has requested this remain as is and can provide more landscaping in other areas if requested. The staff sees no issues with photometrics as light spill is diminished at the required amount at the lot lines. Trash enclosure will be built of the same stone material that's being proposed with a solid opaque vinyl gate. I believe the developers will have a presentation for you as well, but the recommendation tonight would be the proposal to develop Lot 2 of Prairie Creek Development as a car wash with a drive-through. Requires special use permit for the accessory drive-through and site plan. The request for the special use requires public hearing. In advance of any public comment or discussion by the Planning Commission, staff recommends approval. Should the Planning Commission concur, the following motions are offered for your consideration. I move we adopt the findings of fact of staff as the findings of fact of the Planning Commission, and furthermore, recommend approval of the special use for drive-through operations on the parcel at Lot 2 of Prairie Creek Development, petitioner Steve and Timmer of Wash U Car Wash, and in accordance with reviewed plans. And I move we recommend approval of the proposed site plan review for project known as Wash U Car Wash at Lot 2 of Prairie Creek Development, subject to the following 2 stipulations: compliance with the requirements of village engineer and compliance with the requirements of the Plainfield Fire Protection District.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here this evening representing the applicant? I need you to approach that microphone over there. Is anybody else going to give testimony or just you today? If you could, if you both step over there, I'll swear you both in at the same time, and then just state your name if you do give testimony. If I get you to raise your right hand. Do you swear that all testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, please state your name for the recording secretary and go ahead with your testimony.
Craig Nelson. Do you want an address as well? Or?
I think we're okay.
Stephen Timmer.
Okay, thank you.
Here, I'll try this one.
Check the microphone. They should both be working. What's your switch that turns it on or off so when you're talking this is the microphone? If anybody's watching at home, we're just pulling up a presentation, so we are still here.
I can get started while they're still pulling it up, if that,
Are you good with that?
Yeah,
That's
I'm fine with that.
Please proceed with your testimony.
talk contemporaneously a little bit. It's not all reading off of the PowerPoint. My name is Craig Nelson, and my partners Don Tomich and Steve Timmer and I are the managing partners for Car Wash Development LLC, doing business as Wash U. We're a very experienced group of car wash operators. Between us, we have about 60 years of car wash operations, automotive and real estate development, and automotive real estate management. So we've been at this for a while. This car wash that we're building is one of 3 that we're developing here in the Chicago area, and plan to develop quite a few more. That is really a state-of-the-art car wash. If any of you happened to see Cranes a couple of weeks ago, there was an article about what are those car washes doing in your neighborhood, and the fact is the nature of car washing is changing quite a bit, and a number of the full-service car washes are starting to go away. The price points are difficult for many consumers to handle, and if you look around, a lot of the self-service car washes have all but disappeared, and that's because most consumers today don't want to take the time to get out of the car and do that kind of service themselves. And with the development of these newer technologies and newer car washes, we're much better positioned to take care of the consumer, and we happen to do it in a much more sustainable manner than a large number of other car wash competitors. The reason that we're so enamored with Plainfield is, number one, we love that there's so much development possibility here, that the town is really on the cusp of growth. We know that everybody's been through some of these cycles before, but it was very exciting to find the site that's close to Meyer, that is close to other automotive services, that's in a commercial area where we know the population is growing, and that will work well for us, and hopefully we will work well for the community. You can go ahead and change. One of the things that was mentioned was our use of fiber cement panels. These panels are called NICHIHA panels, and they're a very durable exterior panel. In a lot of construction today, you'll see it called Hardy Board, which is just another brand. This is similar, but it's being used by quite a few of the retail commercial developers: Whole Foods, Wendy's, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Many retailers are starting to use these panels because of their exterior durability. The buildings that we're building are also sustainable from the standpoint of the panels. The NICHIHA panels, the company that makes them reclaims 95% of the water that they use in the process. We're also into the sustainable side. We're using less than 17 gallons per car of fresh water in a wash. We run a very high-end reclaim system that allows us, and a proprietary foundation system that allows us to reclaim water and purify it much better than most of the washes today. We invest very heavily in the electrical technology, the motors that we use. Believe it or not, even using more electrical systems, we put what are called variable frequency drives on our motors, and we're running less kWh per vehicle than you do in doing a load of laundry. So on a per vehicle basis, we're using much less electricity. We can go to the next slide. At the intersection just north of the site, there's 41,000 vehicles per day. We're probably being redundant for you gentlemen, so I apologize. There's 31,800 vehicles in front of the site. Almost 52,000 households within a 13-minute drive, and a very high median household income within a 13-minute drive as well. We try to use, instead of radiuses, drive times, because it's what's convenient to the customer today. 3 miles doesn't mean anything. 5 miles doesn't mean anything. If it takes you 25 minutes to get there, you're probably not going to go. So we try to use a 13-minute metric. With our demographic services, both of those, the 13-minute drive times, the market scores very well. 173 on the ESRI Spending Potential Index, and the Buxton Metrics is a 111. The top 30% of the car wash industry score 83 or better, so a 111 means this is a very good location for us and for a car wash. We have great cross-marketing opportunities with Meyer. They've known to partner with other car washes in other markets, so we're looking forward to approaching them on that. Existing cross-access easement, and we'll be joined by other developments in the near future. You can go ahead and turn. This is just an example of the other retailers that are in the marketplace. We know that it's a strong retail area. We like to point out that there's a number of other automotive users, so that we feel that that a car wash is also a good use for the area. With Meyer, we're very excited about that, as I said, being in that last portion of developable space along Route 59. So we think that that's a good fit for us and a good fit for the village. The site plan, as was laid out, I think one of the earlier plans that was up on the board did not show the exit on the south end. So one of the things that we're really concerned about always is making sure that our sites flow very, very well and the traffic can move well. So we have the exit only on the south end, or as the cars process through the tunnel and come out the south end, they could also traverse back up into the vacuum saddle area, and or they could go out to the north, to the exit on the north. Plenty of stacking on the north property lines to allow us to get into the tunnel. And the reason that we process with 3 pay stations, which is a little bit different than a number of other users, is the system we're using is a DRB pay station system that allows for computerized memory, if you will. Whichever car is going through that pay station lane and the arm is going up, that the computer will keep track of the cars in the queue and will allow for that car to get the wash that it paid for. What also happens then is by processing through 3 pay stations, you keep cars moving, so you don't get these big backlogs. So we're constantly moving the cars through that pay station queue. We can manage the site with 3 to 4 people on a regular basis, and the cars are loaded onto what's a little bit different in our car wash versus a typical car wash. They're loaded onto what's called a dual belt conveyor system. We're going to flip through a couple more, if you will. So the site plan, that's the north property line and just what we would do, and that's the photometric slide. Let's go down one more. Okay, the 3D renderings we showed before. We've got the stone going at the 7-foot height across both of the sides, and then the 3-foot wainscot across the fronts. And let's go to two more slides. So the elevations give you a better idea. The signage that we've got superimposed on here is scaled to the appropriate size for the village's for the village's code. And then we'll go down one more. The monument sign, again, would be scaled to code and located out toward Route 59. And then we can go down one more. These are examples of some of the NICHIHA panels that are used in other developments. You can see Dunkin' Donuts, Pi 5. These are some commercial retail developments. They're very unique panels, but they're they come in various colors. That down in the lower right-hand side happens to be the Predator Center for the Nashville Predators, which interestingly has similar colors to ours.
We don't like that team.
Yeah, we don't like that team either, but we like those colors on that building. We think it evokes water, so we'll go with that. They can get kind of frozen out. If we can go one more. We've talked a little bit about all of the proprietary systems, but the reason that we do all of these things is ultimately we want to provide a better process, a better car wash, a better dry, and a better customer experience. We invest almost $4 million in these projects, and we can't invest that kind of money unless we're producing a very, very good product that the consumer is very happy with. Again, we've been through this. We know the right applications, and we can get through the processing of the vehicles in a manner that's very, very efficient. If we can go down one more. This is sort of a 3D layout of what the tunnels look like. We've actually got these measured down to the inch so that we can scale these wherever we need to go. Again, car washes themselves can be fairly mundane. We like to take a different approach. Instead of dark in a bright light show and hiding the mold and everything in the darkness by having some bright lights every once in a while, our car washes are very, very brightly lit. They're white on the inside. The attention to detail is that everything has to be kept very, very clean. Our approach to car washing is not to hide things with darkness. It's to make sure that everybody in our company is doing their job, keeping the car wash clean and keeping your car clean. If we can go one more, please. So just this is a quick video that I'd like to show. It's a 90-second video. This is a wash that we built for Terry Darcy, Darcy GMC Buick, for his customers' use. The unique aspect of what we do is we have a dual belt conveyor system. The dual belt is different than the typical chain and roller conveyor. When you drive in, a lot of times people have a little bit of trepidation trying to get their wheel or their tires lined up between those two steel rails. We have two moving sidewalks. You're actually driving up onto two moving sidewalks as you go through the car wash, and that carries you through while you're in neutral. The advantage there is you don't damage rims. Some people who do have that sense of nervousness trying to get on there, that alleviates that problem. And interestingly, we can also service dually pickup trucks, which no other chain and rail conveyor system can do because they can't fit those rear axle vehicles in there. So the experience is a little bit more comforting. You can go ahead and play it and I'll talk through it. May take it a second to load. I'm sorry? Okay, that's okay. I can kind of walk you through. So it loads up onto the dual conveyors, and as the car progresses through, it goes through each stage. The cars can actually be loaded just like any tunnel conveyor system. They can be loaded at fair distances or fairly close together. The advantage that we have is everything, again, is computer controlled. In traditional car wash conveyor systems, what can happen is if somebody at the front of the conveyor gets nervous and puts their foot on the brake, the rollers will roll underneath the tire and the car will jump up and down, and the car behind it will get pulled into that, and you'll get what's called chain pileups in the car wash industry. All of that is mitigated under this system because the cars never get pulled any further distance than what they're loaded on. They can't drive into each other. We also use anti-collision software, so if something stops along the way, our entire system stops so that cars aren't damaged on the inside. It also means that if a car stopped at the exit of the car wash, our anti-collision software would shut the car wash down so that until that car progresses, people aren't going to be driving into each other. So it helps us to control the traffic flow as well as the manual operations, which is our people watching all of the time. We can go to the next slide. All of the latest technology as far as chemical applications. One of the things that's really nice about our system is we're applying chemical only to the cars and not to the spaces between the cars. We get more chemical on the car, less waste, more environmentally efficient and more efficient from a wash standpoint. And then we use between 15 and 16 blowers to dry the car. We don't have employees on the exterior drying the car because we're using all of these blowers and two 750,000 BTU furnace blowers that are drying the car as it goes through the exit of the tunnel. Again, the result is a car that's clean, dry, shiny, and a happy customer, all with probably less than a 3-minute experience in the car wash. So that takes us to the outside. Could we go one more slide? Again, the vacuum stations, I believe you've seen vacuum stations before. Our vacuums are free vacuums we offer to the public, but we prefer that our customers use them, but we're never going to turn somebody down from vacuuming their car at our shop. We use the one of the quietest motors, or the quietest motor in the industry at 10 feet. I believe it registers 69 decibels, and at 20 feet it registers 54 decibels, so which is less than the level that I'm talking to you right now. You can stand next to the vacuum system and have a normal voice conversation, which gives it I think one of the best ratings in the industry. So those are the things about our car wash that we think are unique. We know that, you know, the car wash business doesn't excite a lot of people. I might bring Steve up here to talk a little bit about the car wash business, if that's okay with you, because he can tell you why we're passionate about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I won't bore you with all the things that excite me about it, because there's a lot of things that we really, but everything that Craig had said is so true. The investment that we make from the environmental side, we're actually in the state of all of the washes. We're well networked with the national as well as the local. There's groups of people that are making these types of investments, so we kind of know where we sit. The investments we're making in these not only save on the reclamation of the water and the electric, as Craig had said, but it allows us to, I'm kind of be a little bit repetitive here, but the processing is very important to us, so that the customer experience, over 50% of our customers are females. And so when the customers come in, the investment we make into that dual belt that Craig had mentioned, if we were to ask our wives or females, the first thing that they say is that coming in is the hardest thing, and it intimidates them. So we've kind of looked at the customer base and tried to design everything that gives the experience. Is kind of, to us, it's the experience. What is going to give the best experience when we go through here? So everything that you've seen on here, and you've probably been to some of these, we actually were the original designers and built and designed any of these pictures at other washes that are on here. We've regrouped and we're doing our own, and we have a strong capital partner that is allowing us to build these in these different areas. What's, you know, this particular one here with that section and working with staff, you know, we hope to be a part. We hope, first of all, we hope you invite us into your community, because we'd like to be here. We really like the area, and we like everything Craig had mentioned, but maybe we can also be a part of helping filling. You know, it only takes a spark to light a match, right? So when dirt starts flying, it usually creates interest, and maybe we can be a part of creating some additional interest in that corridor and bring some other people along with us. But just so you know as well, this, not that it might not matter as much to you as it does to us, but what we're putting in here in the entire country, and we're not boastful by any means, it's just our passion to be very on the front edge of all technology in this industry. It's probably one of the top 3 most state-of-the-art car washes in the entire country when it comes to this type of industry. So it's going to be a fresh new experience coming in here, and hopefully something that the village as well as the community, we get very, very involved with the community, but hopefully we're a good partner for each other. Unless you know, you might have some questions.
We might actually. So
Okay.
if you could stay available there, public might have some questions. The commissioners might also have some questions for you as well. At this time, is there anybody from the audience, the public, who would like to comment on this case? Would you like to, sir? Please approach this microphone over here. I'll need to swear you in also. So please,
All right.
please raise your hand. All testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help
Yes, it
you.
is.
Please state your name for the recording secretary.
It's Roderick F. Baker III.
Proceed.
I'm representing Prairie Creek RC Enterprises. I hope you'll be favorable to this project, because I think I got really excited when Steve and Donnie first came into my office and explained this car wash to me. I think it's state of the art, and I think it's a perfect fit for that area. I also am a little biased because I own that property, and as you all know, it's been laying dormant for quite some time. And we need that spark, because there's been a for sale sign up there for probably over the last 10 or 12 years. And I think it'll behoove all of us, the village, myself, the folks at WashU, the neighbors in the area. I know Pat Bartel's here. I think it'll be a plus for him. I think it's a win-win for everybody, and I would just like to have your support on it.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else at this time? Please approach the microphone. Need to swear you in as well. So is all testimony you about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
I do. Patrick Bartel, Bartel's Auto Clinic, hopefully the neighbor of the proposed project. I've met with Steve and we've talked, and I think it would bring value to the project and value to the subdivision. I think it's a good fit, and I'd like to see all basically approve it. I'm in favor. Thank
Okay.
you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, at this time, commissioners are free to ask questions.
Chairman Kiefer, I'd just like the minutes to please note that I believe this is not a conflict of interest. I am involved in the financing of the underlying development. However, I have no affiliation or connection with the applicant. I'm not involved in this level of the project at all. There's no financial gain to myself or the bank with respect to this case, but I would just like the minutes to please note that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I'd like to thank the applicant for the presentation. I thought they did a great job. Can definitely tell you guys are passionate about car washing, so I'm definitely in support of the project, but I do have a couple questions. It looks like from a site plan perspective, from a north-south dimension, it's very tight. It looks like, and maybe Jonathan, this, or I'm sorry, Jake, this is a question for you. The curb line along the north property line is right on that property line. And I can see it's probably, reason for that is to try to fit, the building within that, 15-foot setback on the south property line. But is there any landscape requirements, landscape setbacks on the north or south property line?
There is a perimeter landscape requirement, and I want to say, is it a 5 foot of a typical parking lot perimeter requirement for landscaping?
So they're not in conformance with that then?
For that side of the property, no.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just add or
Yes.
supplement the response. There is some existing landscaping from the Bartel's Auto Clinic project that was built outside, south of their south property limits.
Okay.
On the subject site that's before the commission for consideration this evening. I think it's the applicant's proposal to either maintain that or potentially reconfigure it, but the unique opportunity here is that given the property isn't yet subdivided, there isn't dimensional constraint necessarily. I think the Plan Commission would be well within its rights to identify, any concerns or recommendations, given that the ultimate lot configuration is yet to be determined. So I just wanted to add that thought for.
Is that the landscaping that was referenced in the staff report as well?
Yeah, I guess it's from my standpoint, having that curb right on the property line, a couple issues that come to mind. One is, the engineering associated with that. I mean, if there's any grade change whatsoever, then they're going on Bartel's property to make up that grade change. That's why I usually want to offset that curb line off the property line, but also the landscaping associated with that. The other concern I have is just, I guess, the entrances from the private, and I'm assuming this is a private drive on the rear side or on the east side. So if you take a look at the site plan, the curb radiuses are going outside their property line onto the adjacent parcels, which, I don't know if they've got or who owns those properties and if they've got the right to do that, but it's also, especially the parcel to the south, it's limiting the development or access to that development because it looks like they're, 25 feet on that property line. So my suggestion is, maybe lose a parking stall on the south end of that east bay, so you could shift that drive farther north, so then you can keep that curb line out of the adjacent properties. It seems like it's extremely tight. They're trying to fit too much in a north-south direction. East-west direction, obviously it's fine. They've got a lot of different latitude there.
Did you want to address that point, or?
I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine.
Actually,
You could approach the microphone, please.
okay,
Sorry.
could we flip to that one where it shows the landscape on Bartels on there? Both of your concerns are, we get them. We actually have met with staff and we talked about options. So, can I step over?
You could grab
Yeah,
that microphone.
there's that microphone to your left. Should be able to come with
Okay. Okay, so, there's another one, what you were just at with the landscape in it. Keep going. I saw it earlier. It had Bartel's landscape shown in there.
It was a photograph is what you're looking for, right?
No. It was okay, so, let's try it one more time, just kind of scroll through. Because that really showed, and actually you have it in front of you as well on
This plan here.
yeah. So you have a landscape plan that shows Bartel's landscape that goes across here, correct? So
That's correct.
both of your concerns are definitely something we've already looked and discussed with staff. Let's talk about the landscape first. On the landscaping, if possible, obviously we will adjust if the recommendation is that we do that. Right now, there's a lot of landscaping down here, and it's actually, not actually, but it seems to be it's beyond the code that was required possibly. So we met with Mr. Bartel yesterday, and we met with staff to ask if this would be a potential opportunity. There's a number of trees that are in there that aren't taking root in that area there. So what we had asked and proposed is if we were able to keep this property line, we would, anything that we that ran into it, any landscaping that would have to go away if we were to hold this, we would replace and buffer up in this area. And we would use, which in the end was both Pat's, I don't want to speak for you, but Pat's in our opinion, that certainly not in your opinion, but that it actually would look nicer, would use more of the cylinder shrubbery and trees that would grow tall and they would take root better, and it would be a cleaner look going through there potentially. So we would replace anything that we took out here and build that back up. And meeting with Jake, he felt that there was clusters potentially, if that was okay with you, that we could meet all of that within that existing Bartel's existing landscaping buffer there. So it would have a strong buffer of landscaping across the north, and then we would meet all of the landscaping required if that was possible. If that were to work, that would be ideal for us. If not, we'll need to adjust. The pigtail that comes out over here, Pat is okay with, and I would sign off on that, correct, Pat?
Correct.
On the southern one, what you just suggested is correct here. We've already talked with our engineer today. We would lose just exactly what you suggested. We'd lose a parking stall and get that into our area. This one Pat's okay on, he would sign off on, and we would build up that buffer zone so there's no less landscaping that there's there now.
Well, Jake, I think what we want to take a look at is, the future development to the south. Whenever you get two access points on one lot, that may impede, potential access for adjacent lots. And you probably just want to take a look at, how are the lots to the south of that going to get accessed? Because the main entrance, is it two more lots that's before the main entrance, or is it one lot? 3 lots?
There would be 4.6 acres after this, so we
South
could
of
probably, you could potentially have 4.
Okay, so there is potential. So I guess I'm mostly concerned about that southernmost lot right adjacent to the entrance, because that's where you want that entrance, farther north away from the main access point, so.
Yeah, we did, and the reason for the quick resolution is that we did point out the corner clips there, that it's typical that most municipalities would call that out in
Yeah.
a site plan or engineering review. So we wanted to make sure that, before it got to that point, that they had a quick resolution for it. So,
So this lot has not been created yet?
no, so that's on top
This
of
is-
another thing. Yeah, well, it'll be part of the contingency for. Obviously, can't approve engineering unless the final plat's all inclusive. So that's currently being drawn up as we speak. So they're going to be rolling right back to the planning commission with a final plat.
So I have to ask the question, so if the lot's not created yet and we got these constraints in a north-south direction, is there opportunity of buying more property so you can fit it and kind of comply with all the codes?
I think, go ahead. And I think part
You get this microphone over here, please.
Part of the challenge is that the overall 5.5 acre tract has utility easements and storm easements that run on an east-west axis through the property. And we're unique in that we can fit on a fairly narrow site, allowing the creation of other lots that would not then overlap those utility easements. If we, and again, it's really the seller, it's seller dependent, but if we were to cheat to the south too much, that might invalidate their ability to sell additional lots because of those utility easements that run through. So we're kind of trying to work in this 130-foot box. And of course, there's an economic aspect to it as well, but it's really more a function of what do you allow for the developable area as a remainder after we get through this.
So, Jake, I guess the compromise on that is that, we got the 15-foot building setback on the south side. And does it make more sense to have them encroach in that building setback so we can get 5 feet of landscaping on the north property line, or, I don't know?
I mean, that certainly is a possibility. It would require, we'd have to go through the variance process for that, I would believe. So we'd probably have to establish another public hearing to do so. Which,
Staff's perspective, you're okay with having them get credit for landscaping on their adjacent parcel and not putting on any on the north side? Feel comfortable with that?
it'd be ideal if we could have the landscaping on site, even if it was a smaller area. But we're trying to work within the constraints of the development and trying to be as business friendly as we can. Like they said, that if they can add more landscaping onto Bartels and increase some landscaping in that area, and we can certainly try to work with them. I don't know if John has any.
Trying to think, is there any
Okay.
other outlots that have curb line right on the property line?
Not that I would, off the top of my head, I wouldn't know.
Not typically, and again, this is a question that, Jake identified, staff identified, both the corner clips and the landscaping as potential opportunities for discussion, direction from the plan commission.
Yeah.
I think if there's support for the project, we could certainly work with them on opportunities to achieve a minimum offset of the curb line from the property line there. Whether it be shifting the building footprint a little bit, potentially encroaching into that building setback. If there are opportunities to narrow up drive lanes, potentially, we can look north-south to try and pick up a few.
Yeah, I
feet.
looked at that. It looks like it's already pretty tight. I mean, you're at 10-foot lane widths. Looks like you only have a couple feet on the sidewalk from the building to the vacuum machine, so it's tight. It's tight. Well, I leave it up to you guys to work with the applicant. I mean, you hear my concerns.
Other commissioners?
Well, I have a couple questions that I don't believe I understand. The north, there's a little bit of encroachment on the lot to the north. So is that encroachment then a separate purchase that is going to make, or is there some sort of cross easement that's going to be recorded, or how is all this supposed to be made legal? And do we have to add that for stipulation? So,
The encroachment that they're speaking of is it was a landscaping implementation.
well,
uh,
I'm talking about the curb cut.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
because that's where my question is going right now, because if you just look at the one we have up, there appears to be a little triangle that's not on their property, that's on a hard lot to the north.
Right.
And so wouldn't that have to either be subject to some sort of cross easement or an out-and-out conveyance
It would
to the other lot?
It would be under final engineering review, which they would have to have some sort of agreement in place. So I would think that our contingency of final engineering approval would kind of umbrella over what's going on here. But
I'm sorry, but I don't see, maybe it's because I'm not an engineer, but how is engineering going to address what appears to be a legal problem?
Mr. Chairman, if I may interject as well.
Please.
On occasion, there might be the opportunity to have some cross-lot grading, things to assist with transitions. There is a kind of a protocol in place for, through engineering review to have the adjacent property owner demonstrate their approval. In this case, we have the benefit of having the adjacent property owner here in attendance articulating.
And this
his
is all
support for the
technically
project.
a parking lot is what we're talking about. It's not a public
Correct.
right-of-way or road.
Curb.
But it still basically serves the function of a throughway, so.
Right, but I mean, it's still somebody else's land that this person is using.
So prior to approval of the final engineering, our engineer, whether it's our in-house engineer or consultant review engineer, would require a written permission from the adjacent property owner indicating its
Well-
approval.
How is that going to help, I don't know, let's say 50 years down the line? Does that approval, is it somehow recorded with the land? Does it run with the land? Or is it just between these two people, and then we have a curb cut, and Mr. Bartels and the WashU is gone, and then all of a sudden there's an encroachment that my grandchildren have to address?
Right, so in experiences that I'm familiar with, we haven't gone to the length of requiring a formal easement for the narrow improvement. It is adjacent to a shared cross-access drive, so it's
I think there
becomes an
should be
existing-
some reference in the legal description that something, whether it's cross collaterals.
it would probably be located on the final plat, which we could allow for some sort of ingress egress cross access easement that will allow for them to use it on their site, obviously. And then Mr. Bartel would probably have to sign the final plat for that stipulation. And that's typically how you would find cross access easements. So through the final plat process, which they are currently drawing up, they can make sure to note that.
You understand Commissioner Renzi's concerns, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Which
And then the next thing is to the south. That's an exit only, correct? For their,
yeah, correct. Yes, correct.
so if the lot comes in directly south of that and wants to have a turn in, because we don't live in England, so the turn in would be to the north if they had some sort of shared. So we'd have to have basically a new complete access that was recorded a safe distance, however you want to define it, safe distance to the south.
That corner clip's being removed, correct? They're moving that southern drive aisle is actually going to be moved up, so that they're not going to be.
One
Granted.
space. So I'm saying they're still in compliance, but basically on the southern end of their property, we're going to have a right turn. So anybody that comes in building to the south of there has to then deal with anybody that's coming in to their land making a left turn, can only do so a safe distance from the north property. You see what I'm saying? If we have this property, right, and we're turning this way, then you may own all this property, but you can't have an entrance except maybe down here because
Well, that's,
they have to go like 40 to 60 feet to have a safe ingress.
well, that's why I asked the staff to take a look at those developments to the south and, you know, how is access gonna, you know, work on those lots. But I mean, if you look, you know, right in front of Meyer with Chase Bank and Physicians Immediate Care and Quick Lube,
Those are
they're
all
all
back
right
to
next
back.
to each other. So I see that as a similar
But
condition.
they're also, most of them are full right-in, right-outs.
Yeah, but it's
And
not a whole lot
so-
different than this.
That's the only concern that I have too.
It seems
is
like,
that
because I analyze that a lot, because, you know, I think about those access points being right next to each other. Every time I've been in there, it doesn't seem like it's been an issue, but I'm not there 24/7, obviously, so,
Do you think that's, a lot of it's because it's a private street,
yeah,
do you think?
yeah,
It's not like you're pulling out into a public street where you got
correct,
traffic. And
correct.
And then, I was gonna ask the applicant, the design, you said you have, I think 2 or 3 other pendings. Have those commissions have they approved the, design? Or have they denied design, or they made you make any modifications?
In one instance, it's accepted and actually, we're using the NICHIHA panels for the entire building. The staff's recommendation here, we brought the stacked stone in so that there's the 3-foot-high wainscot in the front, and 7-foot-high stacked stone along the side elevations. But in Villa Park, we would be using all of the NICHIHA paneling. In the other instance, we've also got a compliance to bring some stone into it, so we're going to use the same approach.
So basically, what you're envisioning is not only the application, but the ultimate construction of the models are going to be similar. We may be a little bit different with a little more quality. Well, I shouldn't say that, being recorded. But in any case, it's substantially the same as to not only what you propose, but what you're going to build. Okay, thank you.
Other commissioners?
I just wanted to touch base on a couple of the same points. I first looked at it, I kind of thought the same thing. I thought it's a nice looking development. It does seem extremely tight on the site. I was looking at that, I guess 5.5 acres, and even though simplistically, if you're gonna make 4 parcels out of it, each one would be 1.15 or something. But, if there's other issues, easements or things that are gonna limit how you can develop the rest of it, I think obviously shifting that south driveway back on the lot to make sure you're compliant, so you're not affecting any future development to the south, that's important. I think the situation in the north is a little unusual. Obviously I think there's a spirit of cooperation there, and I think you've got 2 businesses that have some, could have some synergy there. And realistically, if we had a cross-access easement where, typically a lot of times there'd be an actual drive, going from your lot to his lot, directly connecting parking lots or something. Well, obviously in this case, that's not really appropriate because you're stacking for a car wash. But I guess I'm looking at it more in that spirit. So, and I'm sure this gentleman's been diligently chopping the weeds along the edge of his development for all these years, and he'd like to see some enhanced landscaping there. And if this little bit of an encroachment with that driveway, if you can work with him to really enhance the landscaping between your 2 lots, and it's done in the spirit of cooperation, even if something legally has got to be drawn up, I think that's a good idea too. But I kind of look at that more like almost like a cross-access agreement kind of a thing. Other than that, I think it's a real fresh approach to a building elevation. It's very modern looking. Obviously it's nice to bring the masonry in, but still you've got some real contemporary looking materials. We're kind of getting away from the CMU look and, with the traditional pitched roof things. I think people are, for a long time, car wash, it's got to look residential. Well, I think you're actually trying to make a little bit new image here, and so I think it's going to be a good development.
So Commissioner Segerbrush, I guess, do you have any concerns in regards to the architecture fitting within the other outlots? I mean, this is, like you said, very modern, and I think a lot of those other,
I don't know. I mean, when you look at some of the other ones along there, I mean, like the Chase Bank and, you know, the Meyer gas station, I don't, you know, I think it's, I think there's enough mixture of design along there that I don't think it's, you know, something that's,
this wouldn't stand out too much.
yeah. And as they brought up an example, I mean, I know when the Wendy's was redone, not too long ago, they used this same type panel product and gave it a much more, I guess it's more of a contemporary look, you know. I mean, I believe I was on the Plan Commission 15 years ago when the car wash on 135th Street, you know, across 59 was approved back then. And I know at that time we thought that was kind of state-of-the-art looking, but you look at it today, you know, and whether it looks dated or not, I mean, it's more of a masonry building and, you know, it's got some glass block and pitched roofed. And I think at the time we thought, wow, that, you know, maybe that's what a car wash should look like. Well, I think, you know, times have changed, and I think you've got a newer image here. And like you said, the market's changed too. You know, I mean, obviously there's always going to be a place for a full service car wash, and that your competitor across the street, I mean, in their case, it's an auto service center too. So you're not really competing directly with each other. But I think you're right. The self wash and those kind of things seem to have kind of gone by the wayside. So I think you're going to fill a need here, or fill a niche, and it's going to be hopefully a higher quality wash than going to a gas station. You know, that's a big thing too.
Any final comments? Any other questions?
I guess moving back to the special use for the drive-through and referencing the other establishment on 135th, is that also a B3 zoned quadrant? Okay, so that sort of precedence is
Really, any applicant that comes forward with a drive-through request, it always comes in as a special use. So we always get to discuss those publicly. Well, at this time, the chair would entertain a motion regarding the special use for the drive-through.
I move we adopt the findings of fact of staff as the findings of fact of the Plan Commission, and furthermore recommend approval of the special use for drive-through operations on the parcel at Lot 2 of Prairie Creek Development. Petitioner Stephen Timmer of Wash U Car Wash, in accordance with the reviewed plans.
Second. Okay, a motion has been made and seconded regarding the special use for a drive-through. Can we have a vote by roll call, please?
Commissioner Menace,
Yes.
Mr. Segerbrook,
Yes.
Commissioner Womack,
yes.
Mr. Renzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinen,
Yes.
Chairman Kiefer.
Yes. So the motion is made and seconded, and it carries. We also have a motion before us regarding the site plan. I would entertain a motion for that.
I move that we recommend approval of the proposed site plan review for the project known as Wash U Car Wash on Lot 2 of Prairie Creek Development, subject to the following two stipulations found in the staff report.
Second that?
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded regarding site plan review. Can we get a vote by roll call, please?
Commissioner Renzi. Commissioner Menace,
Yes.
Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Heinen,
Yes.
Mr. Segerbrook,
Yes.
Chairman Kiefer.
Yes. This motion also carries. So what will happen now, gentlemen, your project will be forwarded on to the village board. Please keep in touch with staff. They'll let you know when you're on the village board's agenda. We want to wish you good luck with your project, and thanks for coming in this evening.
Thanks a lot.
Luck.
Luck with it. Thank you. Okay, the next case before us is case number 1735-090716.SPR. It's for the property at 14810 South Michigan Street, and the request is for a site plan review. We have a staff report regarding this.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The case before you is at 14810 South Michigan Street. It's currently Zone B3, Highway Business, with an R1 overlay. And then the comprehensive plan is for general commercial. The applicant is seeking site plan review approval to construct a single-story accessory building with a porch on their property, out of which they plan to operate a coffee shop. The applicant currently operates the 413 Salon and Spa out of the existing single-story building on the property. And the proposed accessory building is subject to site plan review for compliance with the zoning code. The subject property is a lot of approximately 5,500 square feet and includes a one-story frame house that has been converted to business use, the aforementioned salon and spa. And it also includes an asphalt driveway and parking spaces directly accessible from Michigan Street. There are 9 parking spaces. The adjacent land uses and zoning are as follows. To the north is Nabby's Restaurant, which is a commercial use zone B3. To the east is Michigan Street with a orthodontist located across the street, which is zone B1 with an R1 overlay. And then to the south and west are single-family homes that are zone B3 with an R1 overlay. As for the site plan, the applicant is proposing to construct a one-story accessory commercial building with a porch, out of which they plan to operate a coffee shop. The applicant plans to retain the existing salon business out of the primary existing building. The proposed accessory structure will be 14 feet long on the east and west elevations by 6 feet wide on the north and south elevations, and it will be 7 feet 4 inches tall with a pitched roof of unknown dimensions. The building will include an entry door on the south elevation, a window on the north elevation, and 3 windows on the east elevation, the center of which will slide open. The porch will be constructed on the east elevation and will also be 14 feet long, which is the length of the facade, and it will be 4 feet wide. The building and porch will be oriented parallel with the existing primary structure and Michigan Street. Customers will not enter the accessory building but will be served from the porch through the sliding window. It is unclear at this time if the porch will be covered and if it will include outdoor seating. The applicant right now has just proposed a general concept plan, and I imagine they will submit more detailed drawings if that will be reviewed by staff and could potentially come back for Plan Commission review and approval as well at a later date if the Plan Commission decides to go forward at this time. They have provided some pictures of similar structures, and then the examples that they provided depict generally a traditional country-styled architectural design with cedar plank siding and shingles, earth tones, white trim, and decorative window boxes with the potential for bolder accent colors and features such as decorative shutters. Staff believes that the proposed building materials and architecture is of a high quality and will add to the character of the downtown area, and staff will work with the applicant to obtain more detailed plans moving forward. Staff has evaluated the proposed plan in consideration of the standards established for B3 zone properties in the zoning ordinance. It does appear to meet all setback requirements. However, the porch is proposed to go within the front yard setback, which is not permitted. However, since the property is located within the R1 overlay, there is a little bit more leeway on the rear setback. So granted that there aren't any issues with existing landscaping on the property or anything like that, staff feels that the entire building and the porch structure can be moved to the rear to be in compliance, or the applicant could potentially apply for a variance if they want to have a porch in the front yard setback. As far as parking, the ordinance only requires 4 parking spaces including 3 parking spaces for the existing building and 1 parking space for the accessory building. But given the unique nature of the proposed coffee shop and lots of people congregating outside, we feel that during peak hours there could potentially be some parking issues. So we would just ask that the applicant demonstrate that off-street parking for the site is adequate and that parking will not adversely affect the surrounding area if the Plan Commission decides to go forward with this. A final consideration is the outdoor operations nature of the proposed coffee shop. While coffee shops are permitted use in the B3 zoning district, the zoning ordinance specifies that all business, service, and commercial activities must be conducted within completely enclosed buildings unless otherwise expressly allowed, which this use is not. The village, however, may waive this provision by designating certain days on which special promotions can be conducted outside the building. On-site outdoor seating areas for the patrons of eating and drinking establishments are allowed as an accessory use so long as the establishment complies with any permitting requirements that the village from time to time may establish. But since the primary use of the property is a salon rather than eating and drinking establishment, staff feels that this use would not be permitted. So in conclusion, while the proposed accessory structure complies with the requirements of the zoning ordinance, the plan would need to be modified to move the structure and its porch 4 feet to the rear to bring the proposed porch into compliance, or the applicant would have to apply for a variance. Furthermore, the accessory use and the outdoor nature of the business does not comply with the zoning ordinance and would likely require special consideration by the Board of Trustees as a special use, or to specify certain days on which outdoor operations can occur. The staff feels that the idea of a walk-up coffee kiosk is unique and one that is not clearly accounted for in the zoning ordinance. Staff feels that this could be an interesting concept that could potentially add more pedestrian activity and add character to this neighborhood on the edge of the village's downtown area. If the Plan Commission decides to move forward in recommending approval of this concept, staff will work with the applicant to modify the plan to bring the porch into compliance with the zoning ordinance requirements, as well as obtain more detailed plans concerning the architecture and building materials to ensure their compliance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance, the building code, and fit the character of the neighborhood. Staff will also work with the applicant to obtain evidence that existing on- and off-street parking areas are adequate for the property and its uses. Staff is seeking further direction from the Plan Commission on this proposed concept. Should the Plan Commission decide to move forward with recommending approval of the plan, the following motion is offered for your consideration. I move that we recommend approval of the site plan review for the proposed accessory coffee shop building at 14810 Michigan Street, subject to the following 6 stipulations. Modification of the plan to bring the proposed accessory building and porch into full compliance with the zoning ordinance. Submittal of full detailed building plans and building materials in compliance with the building code and zoning ordinance. Submittal of evidence that existing on- and off-street parking areas are adequate to meet the demand the property and its uses will generate. Approval of the outdoor nature of the business as a special use, compliance with the requirements of the village engineer, and compliance with the requirements of the Plainfield Fire Protection District.
Let me just clarify too. So currently before us, it's just a site plan review. There is no request this evening for a variance on the setback if the building was to stay in the front. Your recommendation is that it gets moved to the rear, and there is no variance requested regarding the zoning as well this evening. Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone here representing the applicant this evening? Thanks. Could I get you to approach this microphone over here? And we'll swear you in. You raise your right hand. Do you swear that all testimony you're about to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you? Please state your name for the recording secretary and proceed. And do you have anything to add regarding the case or the application?
We are just very excited to bring something new to Plainfield and something a little different than what is already established in Plainfield. And we are trying to just work with the village and try and get it up and running fairly quickly, and so that is why we decided to do the walk-up. However, we are open to going through a variance approval process to make it a little bit bigger if that's what you guys suggest, and we would just want to work with you and make our existing business even better, and they kind of work hand in hand. Everyone in the hair industry loves coffee, and as well as a numerous amount of people in Plainfield, I'm sure.
Are you open to the idea of moving it to the rear of your existing building as suggested by staff?
Definitely, yeah.
At this time, is there anybody?
Mr. Chairman, may I just add a few comments, and I apologize, this may not be appropriate, but I just wanted to give a little additional history on how the applicants came to this step, just because I think it may inform the Commission's consideration of the project. The petitioners do own the lot and operate the current business on this location, and I believe their initial interest was coming in to build either a new freestanding building or a conventional addition to the existing building. But due to the building setback requirements for the B3 zoning district and the small nature of this existing lot, that really limited or precluded any conventional new construction. And so the petitioners have been very creative in looking at avenues to meet this need, to fulfill a service for their clients, and also achieve a business objective. Another alternative they considered was operating a food truck at this location as kind of a fixed, standing, stationary food truck that would be treated a little bit differently in terms of building setbacks and so forth. The village's policy on food trucks is evolving, and so that was not a clear path for them to move forward. So this is really another creative effort at moving ahead with this business venture. But I at least wanted to clarify that this was not the first concept that came to mind. It's the result of pursuing a few different avenues that have been met with different challenges for very different reasons, whether it be setbacks or policies relative to food trucks and so forth. So,
Thank you, Jonathan. Is there anybody in the audience this evening that has a question or wishes to comment on this case? Okay, seeing none, I would open up questioning to the commissioners. You're free to comment or ask your questions.
I have a number of questions. So, if I'm reading so are you saying that there's no way they could actually build an addition onto this building I'm assuming it's, a legal non-conforming, you're saying? I mean, the house that's on the lot now that's used as a business? I mean, it doesn't meet any of the current setbacks, is that what you're saying?
So just conversationally, there would be an interior side setback of 15 feet between the subject lot and Nabby's, and then front and rear setbacks of 30 feet. So once you applied those to the actual lot area, there would be a very narrow, so the lot is approximately 66 feet deep. Deduct the 30-foot front and rear setbacks, that would leave you approximately 6 feet of buildable area.
I mean, it looks like the current house meets the front setback, right? The 30 feet, it looks like. Just looking at the little site plan.
I believe it's legally non-conforming for the house, anyways, on the rear and side setback, but it is legally conforming on the front.
Front, okay. And I mean, I'm assuming to the north, to Nabby's, since there's nothing there now, it wouldn't be a problem to meet the 15. So it's really the rear setbacks the big problem to try to meet that. But obviously, the existing house doesn't even come close. It may have maybe a 5-foot setback. Looks like. So.
And since it's in the R1 overlay, there is some latitude for rear setbacks for accessory structures, but I don't believe there are for permanent primary structures.
Well, how do we? And this isn't zoned as a business transition right now. How's this zoned?
It's on B3 with an R1 overlay.
I mean, what I'll tell you is I'm not. I don't want to discourage you. I mean, it sounds like you got some good ideas and how it could help the current business you have there. I'm an architect, and I can tell you, I don't think a building like this has to meet not only the building codes, but it's going to have to meet health codes. And I mean, you're not going to be able to have a restaurant without a restroom, possibly not only for patrons, but even just for employees. And that structure's not big enough to even get a restroom into, much less. I mean, I'd be more in favor of working with them on some kind of a variance to see if they could add on to that, to do, with maybe a porch element, an open element, but something to where, possibly then, okay, now it's an addition, it's got to be on a full foundation, it's got to be heated, because it's got to meet health codes. I mean, whether they can then, share a restroom with the existing business, or maybe they've got to add one more. I'm not convinced we're going to be able to accomplish all this with a little accessory structure, which with what's pictured, I mean, it kind of looks to be almost like a shed kit kind of a thing, and I find it hard to believe the health department's going to allow something like that on other than, like you said, almost like a seasonal thing, where at that point then it's okay. What are we really trying to do here? I mean, if it's something they want to be able to offer year round, and that would be my opinion.
Sounds like also, based on staff report, that is it safe to say the village is thinking of addressing this? We don't really have this in the village currently. Is this something that they would like to form a policy on, or you maybe give us some direction on how we should be if we have more of these cases in the future?
I think this is a new request. I think it's new territory, and to that extent, I commend the petitioners for their creativity. I do anticipate some policy direction on the village board on if this is the type of approach or use that there would be support for. So
just my own, familiarity would be when you see something like this, it either is kind of a food truck standalone type structure, or it's a walk-up window for an existing restaurant that meets health codes and all those requirements. So, yeah, I'm kind of wondering how we fit it in. I like your proposal. It sounds like an interesting concept. I'm just not quite sure how we fit it in under existing ordinance.
And that was what I was thinking too, that I would rather address it with a food truck, because at least food trucks arguably don't have all the health code things, because the food truck would have to comply. And it's kind of all-inclusive. Whereas as soon as they build a shed, well, then are we gonna have a roof? If we're gonna have a roof, are we gonna have tables? And how are we gonna have walk-ups when this is a vehicular-driven space, so the vehicles have to come up? So I think that it's just one problem on top of another with walk-ins, but at least I'm thinking with a truck that's arguably movable, then we can, because otherwise, if we have something that's going to be permanent, it's not where they have car shows. Someone, for instance, we have car shows every, Thursday in the summer? Tuesday, downtown. But the people would have to walk, 2.5 to 3 blocks to get to their walk-up window. And like the guy just said before, it's a question of time, not distance, and that's going to be about a half-hour walk. Are you really going to spend that much time going there and then coming back? So really, are we talking about, that brings back then tables? Because if somebody walks to that, presumably they're going to be tired, and then and so it's.
But
we're shooting at moving.
Your anticipation is to provide a service for your customers, not so much as it could become a destination, but not so much as drawing other people from other areas just for the coffee. Is that correct? Oh, you would? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking otherwise she could just sell coffee inside as a side thing from the,
No.
well,
No, 'cause
well, that's true.
Well, I think the key is sell, because obviously, I'm sure you could provide free coffee to your customers now, but that's different than saying, hey, we want to actually make it a coffee shop, and, so it's, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but, if they can meet the front setback and they can meet the side setback to the north, other than a variance for a rear setback, and I don't know about lot coverage, things like that, the little bit of discussion about parking, again, depending on how big an addition really would be, is to whether they're in compliance on parking or not. I'm not sure that this is inconceivable to do as a building addition. I don't know.
is that a cost factor? Is that why that has not been explored, or do we know?
For the applicant to add as well, I do know that when the food truck concept was presented, some trustees had hesitation with that and suggested they would be more open to some flexibility with the variance
Not
route.
mistaken with that. I think the concern was that the food truck wouldn't be mobile; it would basically be permanently parked.
Right.
So there was support offered for the potential for a variance. I think from the applicant's perspective, I don't want to speak for them, but that there is a time associated with that process, and I think they're just anxious to get started ASAP.
Well, Commissioner Segerberg also brought up the point of if you would need to have an access for a bathroom and things like that. I'm not real familiar with it. I don't know if you would, because you think about like some of those walk-up ice cream type stands that are seasonal as well, and those don't tend to have any entrance point. I don't know if they have bathrooms along the.
Typically, they have an employee restroom at
Sure.
least, yeah, at the very least. So.
It seems like there's quite a few challenges here.
Yeah.
Is there any type of feedback in terms of support for the concept from the commissioners? The chair is open to some discussion on this.
I would just say that conceptually, it's a neat idea. I can see that, and that we go through the checklist. If it can't be built onto the structure, and if they can't have a food truck, and it's a neat concept. The only thing that we're left with is accessory building. So I'm thinking that many moons ago, we had a person sat on this commission who would have been gone about 10 minutes ago because there were 6 stipulations, and he felt that whenever there was more than 3, it was time to go home. And so with that in mind, and all respect to Jay, I figure that's a good thing with 6 stipulations. If we're okay with the concept, since we're an advisory board, just kick it along upstairs with the 6 stipulations. That would show we have a fair amount of reservation. We like the general concept because we don't see any options, and let the village board figure out whether they really want to have an ordinance for trucks, an ordinance for like Hawaiian ice shops that are seasonal, or not. And then if the answer is in the affirmative, then the applicant can come back and say, this is what I envision doing with what guidelines I got from the village, because we really don't have any guidelines. We'd be shooting at moving targets, I think.
Other commissioners would like to weigh in?
I guess one of my concerns, you know, obviously the health code is a big issue, but with respect to the footprint and the size of the building, if you're going to be operating out of that, I mean, is this purely just coffee, or are you going to try to have some level of food offering? Okay. I mean, just with a 6-foot wide building footprint, with building materials, countertop space, and some of, you know, in order to have the ability to cook food, some of those things built into the building, you're not going to have a lot of room in there to move around to obviously operate.
A single-use restroom's about 6 feet by 8 feet minimum, so I mean, that's over half their footprint just for a bathroom.
Yeah.
See, it's.
So, I mean, I understand the restrictions, but, you know, I think it'd be nice if there'd be a way to try to find a addition to the building if possible, and somehow make it as an attachment or some type of connected structure to the existing 1-story frame house. But I understand the restrictions there as well.
Commissioner Womack, any input?
I think second a lot of what
Okay. Commissioner Heinen?
I agree with Commissioner Renzi. I think you know, let's have this go to the board and see what they have to say.
I'll just say I like the idea of people coming forward with different ideas and new approaches and trying to work. You know, the building that you're in has certain restrictions. I like that you're trying to find solutions to it. I think there's consensus from this commission to maybe make a motion as presented in our packet and see how the board reacts to it. And you know, I think once you get some feedback from them, that's ultimately going to either allow your project to go forward or not. Maybe long-term, we need to look at some solutions with staff if a variance is maybe a more appropriate route, or, you know, construction. I know it's going to change the cost as well, but, you know, obviously whatever you go forward with, it's going to have to comply with health codes and all that. So, that being said, I guess the chair would entertain a motion regarding this application.
Well, I can make the motion that we recommend approval of the site plan review for the proposed accessory coffee shop building at 14810 Michigan Street, subject to the 6 stipulations set forth in the planner's report.
Okay, motion has been made. We need a second. And let me clarify, just by making the second doesn't mean you support the motion, it just allows us to vote on it.
I second that.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded. Can we please get a vote by roll call, please?
Mr. Womack,
Yes.
Mr. Menace,
No.
Mr. Segerbrook,
No.
Mr. Heinen,
Yes.
Mr. Renzi,
Yes.
Chairman Kiefer.
I will vote yes as well. This motion carries then 3-2. What'll happen then is I'm sorry, what did we get? No, we had 1, 2. I'm sorry, 4-2. I missed one. Let me rephrase that. So the motion carries 4-2. What will happen is, on this recommendation, will go on to the village board. So please be in touch with staff. They'll let you know when you're on the board's agenda, and they'll take action on it. I hope you have a clear idea what some of the concerns we have here as a commission. I think you're going to hear the same thing. You've already been in front of the board probably with your other proposal. I think you'll have a good idea of what their concerns are going to be as well. But good luck. It sounds like an interesting project. Thank you. The other thing that you have in your packet, the other item, was submitted to the Plan Commission as regard to the kind of an update to send to the board, and it's a draft that you have. We've had a number of discussions about this over the years, and primarily it's designed to give the village board some feedback on the issues that the Plan Commission has struggled with or discussed. This also covers the zoning board's meetings as well, and the idea was to have some sort of feedback from our commission before the formal minutes are approved. So I think it gives an idea of what direction we were going. I'll just comment on this real quick. I think this looks like a pretty good draft. I like the example you gave, and I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to look at this. It gives you an idea of what the case number is if our recommendation was approval or denial. I like that you include the vote, so I think they can see, was it a 4-2? Was it unanimous? How did that work out? Outstanding issues are bullet pointed, and then you also have an indication of if the minutes have been approved or not, and if it's in draft form or final form. So I guess what you're looking for is just some feedback from the Plan Commission regarding this, or did you want to comment on
I know, if I could just add to your introduction, I know this is this effort, maybe not the specific end product, but this effort is something that the commission has been interested in for a number of months, and so it's staff's objective to try and provide something that would be consistent, independent of which planner potentially is working on the case, something that's uniform, and would also give the Plan Commission a vehicle or something that you're comfortable with. So if during the course of a consideration of a case you could direct us specifically, have this be an additional item that you note in this transmittal form. I think the preceding case is a great example. The case will go forward with a recommendation for approval, but to distill it down to that simple fact, I think would overlook the broader discussion. So this form would give one opportunity, in addition to our more comprehensive staff report, would give one additional opportunity in a way for the Plan Commission to speak directly to the trustees.
Well, is your proposal just for this form to be used only upon recommendation, or has this become kind of the new norm?
Would be a kind of a cover transmittal for each case.
Yeah, I would like to see, if we're going to adopt something like this, that it becomes the norm for every case that goes forward. I think certainly some cases would lend itself more for a more detailed explanation, but what's the opinion of the other commissioners?
I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Love's a strong word.
I love it.
Let the record reflect that.
Very sensitive.
Well, there's in Greek, love can carry about 6 different meanings. So
I wasn't going to open up that today, but let's focus on the form at hand.
and
Does this meet some of your concerns?
yes, that
Mr. Renzi?
Yes, and I think, as was pointed out, the last case is a perfect example. I don't know if 3 necessarily goes enough, but the word template, I'm sure, as many issues as we had, can fit all on the page, so it would be nicely, and that would be the only thing that I think 3 is just a arbitrary example, and some may have 2 and some may have 6 or more, but
Yeah, we don't need you to pad the form, right? we could, if it's appropriate, expand on it. If not, maybe one key bullet point.
Right, right.
That's it exactly. But, yeah, this would be nice. And at first I thought, well, maybe it should somewhere show which planner submitted it, but I don't think that's necessary either. And there's no real need to have it signed and dated or anything like that either. So I'm back to, I don't necessarily want to say I love the form. But, yeah,
You're learning to like it.
it fits the need.
Any other comments?
This form would just be a cover sheet to the minutes. They'd be part of it as well. So if there was more detail required by any of the trustees, they could refer into the minutes.
So this would be a supplement to our full comprehensive staff report, and we have been doing a one-page summary as well that has some of the same information, but this would allow the Plan Commission to speak directly to the trustees in terms of, you know.
I think it addresses some of our main concerns.
Still love it.
Do you need a motion to accept this, or you just wanted our feedback? That's good. All right. Well, thank you for taking action on that and presenting us something to look at. Do we have any items open for discussion? All our cases are completed.
Yeah, I just wanted to inform the public that St. Mary Immaculate Men's Club is hosting Oktoberfest this Saturday, September 24th, from 5 to 10 p.m. So this is our second annual. Last year was honestly a great event. We had a great time. We had a lot of the parishioners attend, but we wanted to do was open this to the public more, invite the community, because I think it would be a great community event. So we've got live music, great food. We've got an executive chef who has done a great job with the brats, German potato salad, and of course a cold beer. So I invite the public to attend.
Any other items for discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I would like to remind you that our next scheduled Plan Commission meeting is for Tuesday, October 4th, in this room at 7 o'clock, and at 8:38, we will adjourn. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.